Hi, Cancer Sun and Rising. Welcome to your July 2023 Astro Update. It's Raina here. As you know, July is predominantly Cancer season in terms of the sun being in your sign. So this has to be a high energy time for you guys, especially I would say the sun in Cancer because this is your birthday time. But certainly for the ascendant, this is important because you're starting a whole new cycle. We do have Leo energy that will be dominating to some degree because as the month begins, Mars is in Leo, and then Mercury goes into Leo towards the middle of the month. So Leo is your second house of earned income. So that's actually a good thing because sometimes people may see more activity in that area of life. The interesting thing about Mars being in Leo is that even though Mars can be very close to the sun, and of course in July, that is when the sun goes into Leo, it's playing catch up from last year. So it's actually, it could have been going through all the signs already before it got into Leo. So it suffice it to say, Mars is ahead of the game because it's been in Leo since probably sometime in May. But anyway, let's start at the beginning of the month when we have a full moon at 11 degrees of Capricorn. At every full moon, the sun is opposing the moon. So you have the moon in your first house and you have, the sun in the first house and you have the moon, but not just any moon, the full moon in that seventh house of committed partnership. This is also the house that Pluto has just re-entered because Pluto has been retrograding and Pluto went back into Capricorn on June 11th. So what that means is that the full moon is in the same house, in that house of relationships that Pluto is in. They're not going to form a conjunction. They're too far apart, but they're still both there, and both of them can deal with similar matters. The full moon can bring disclosure, and it can bring things to the surface. There can be this purging effect at the time of the full moon. That's why some people fast during full moons, because they feel like they can really purify. Well, this is purifying your relationship sector. With Pluto re-entering here, there can be some issue that has been on the table in the past that comes back. I was going to say comes back with a vengeance, but when we have a planet retrograding here, it's more like it is burrowing even deeper, and it's really, I think, asking of you to do that work. Whereas normally, if you have Pluto in a certain house, you might still have the purging and the exposure of things that have been kind of festering. However, it could involve other people directly. Maybe their own actions come back to reveal their true nature, their true intentions. So in this case, it's like doing psychotherapy on yourself, where you're not just content to talk about other people, but what am I doing? Some of you may have already had a breakup with your primary relationship. And with this full moon in this house, that can heighten the emotions. It can bring this sense of do or die. So, for instance, if you have separated from a partner, there may be the thinking like, hey, should we do this again? But Pluto isn't really about reuniting so much as digging even deeper. And I think it can be very therapeutic because you may discover that it wasn't all about that other person, that you had some hand in it. If this is some kind of arbitration at work, for instance, this may be a time of reflection within yourself. Like, are you doing something for the right reasons? So, for instance, even if you get cheated out of something at work, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is the best idea to go and to fight it. And I've really thought about this for a long time in the past because I feel like a lot of times people, if they feel like they're being treated unfairly, the first thing they do is, file some report or do something like that. But if you think about it, even if you're to win a case, if you go into a workplace and you have to see those people, it's probably going to be a hostile environment because the boss is going to resent you because you tried to make them look bad, and your coworkers, if they have already conspired against you, do you really think that they're going to be all of a sudden warm and fuzzy? They may pretend because they don't want to get narked on, but that doesn't mean that they really feel it. So because you're a Cancer, you can really sense those undercurrents, and it could be a really icky kind of vibe. So you may kind of look within yourself and say, why am I doing this? Am I really, maybe I want the power, maybe I want revenge, and you might choose differently. So there could be all kinds of things. And when we just talk about what the full moon in Capricorn means, it is the Capricorn rules the house of career. So because it's occurring in your chart in the seventh house, and for some of you, it might actually be in the sixth house. But regardless, if we look at it from the seventh house perspective, this could even have to do with people who are workaholics, who are very committed to their careers, and how much time do they spend with their partner. And it's like something has to give. On the 10th, Mars goes into Virgo. This is a friendly angle to you called a sextile, and it's in the third house. So Mars has been in Leo for quite a while. As I stated earlier, since late May, I think. And Mars in the second house can make a person really feel this sense of urgency when it comes to earning money. Now that it goes into the third house, there's a need to communicate for some reason. Now, we're getting into family houses because the third house can be your siblings and extended family members like aunts, uncles, cousins. And you may be doing more things with these people for whatever reason. It can even be your neighbors, the third house. And it's also connected to communication. The internet can be part of that. Social media. Your communication may have a tinge of aggression. So watch it because you may not realize just how overbearing that you're being, verbally. And that could put off somebody else. Maybe you're getting argumentative for some reason. But let's see. What else is happening here? The next day, Mercury goes into Leo. So Mercury goes into that second house. You may be thinking about your finances for some reason. If I know the typical Cancer, you might be worrying about them, overthinking them. And the nice thing for Cancer is that you do have Leo at the cusp of the second house, because it tends to be, I think it tends to attract money. Leo, the sign of Leo, it's a fire sign, it's a fixed sign, so Leos tend to be very dedicated and consistent, and they tend to be very hardworking, to the point of being a workaholic sometimes. This is a great way for your mind to become creative and think of, maybe some ideas. On the 17th, we have a new moon in in Cancer at 24 degrees 56 minutes, so very close to the 25-degree mark of Leo. And this is actually, oh wait, what the hell am I talking about? It's getting late at night, that's why I'm a little spaced. The new moon is at almost 25 degrees of Cancer on the 17th, and that is your first house of the self. So you had a full moon in the house of the other, and now you're having a new moon in the house of the self. So it's time to really honor yourself. It's time to really bask in your awesomeness, your actual uniqueness. And this is your new beginning at a late degree of Cancer, relatively late degree. But then the next day, that's what I was confusing it with when I was looking at this. The sun goes into Leo, and we have a Venus retrograde at 28 degrees of Leo. So in that second house, so for the next few weeks, if you find that for some reason your money flow is slowing down because now you have Mars out of that house, so you don't have that same sense of urgency. You might be just in magnetic mode, which means that you're kind of practicing the art of allowing. So you're allowing those blessings to flow to you. But Venus is retrograde. Venus is the ruler of the second house. It's in its own domain. So there could be some thinking or rethinking about your career goals. Well, anything that's connected to your self and what you do to maintain harmony with others, perhaps. But I think it's even like, how do you present yourself in a way that is the most appealing? So you may be, interested in sprucing up your appearance if you are being very critical about it, or getting a new hairstyle, whatever it is. But keep in mind that this is also did I say, I don't know if I said this, that Venus is retrograding on the same day at 20. Yeah, I think I said that, at 28 degrees of Leo. So that's in the second house. So that could slow down your money. Okay, I want to make this clear. I sound like Nixon. I want to make this perfectly clear. On the 22nd, the sun goes into Leo and Venus retrogrades in Leo. And these are both in your second house. I don't know if I said something about appearance. That was me falling asleep while I'm doing these recordings. Yes, I have done that before. And so this is really concerned about finances. Now, the new moon on the 17th, because it is in your first house, you may get a new haircut. So maybe I was talking about that, or something. Like you want to spruce things up. But actually, during a Venus retrograde, you're supposed to be very careful about doing anything that is connected with beauty, like maybe trying to switch things up, because You may not like the results when Venus turns direct. And then you may be like, okay, now what do I do? I'm stuck with this thing. This haircut. Yeah, my hair is going to grow out, but it's going to take a year or whatever. But anyhow, so if you see that your finances, if it seems a little bit slow, it is totally temporary because Venus is just going to be retrograding for a few weeks. Yeah, it'll have the time when it stations direct, it'll still be in the shadow for a little while. But Venus is a benefic planet, so I don't think that it's going to hold you back too much even when it's retrograde. It's just that on top of, the function of Venus, it rules the second house, and that, deals with money. So, and it, you have it there, so that's why it becomes that much more connected to that. So, and the sun is there as well on the same day. So it really enhances that area of finance for you. On the 28th, Mercury goes into Virgo. So Mercury is going to spend 6 days after those two planets go into that. Well, Venus is already in the second house, but I mean when it turns retrograde, Mercury will also be there for several more days, almost a week, and then it goes into your third house where it joins Mars. So Mercury rules the third house in astrology. So it has that very, that quick wit that, the mind is very activated when Mercury is in its own domain. And with Mars there, yeah, you can be argumentative, Cancer. You could be also very voraciously reading something, or maybe you're debating something, having a lot of arguments, maybe with siblings or neighbors or something like that. But you might the thing about it as well is that there may be a real thing that you feel that you must communicate to people for some reason. And I'm not one of those people that is like, oh, if you are very adamant about something, that you're being argumentative. No, sometimes people are warning other people about doing something, or they're trying to reassure them about something, and the other person is kind of pushing back. So sometimes it's actually for the benefit of another person. So your mind is very activated. You may be working on a website, for instance, or something along those lines. And yeah, so that's July in a nutshell. And it's a month. I think it's a little bit quieter than the past few months have been. So I think when I was compiling the list, I was like, well, there's still a lot of stuff happening, but I think that especially since we're leaving the eclipse season behind and the solstice portal in June, actually, speaking of portals, it's not included in my ephemeris, but this is when we have the Lionsgate portal that begins on July 26th, which is the galactic New Year, I believe, and runs through past the August 8th. I think it's until August 10th. August 8th is Lionsgate. And then I think the portal closes on the 10th. So that's something else that some people like to acknowledge. But anyway, that's what I have for you, Cancer. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.